look, we're going to try it like this because I have no idea if this is going to work. I may try to get back into my classroom. Right now with Sky, I've been trying to be at home. So I'm going to try to do this at home as best I can. You may be having a hard time to see this. I tried to change the font a little bit, but I just can't find one that's actually going to work. You may get your notes out, follow along. You won't be able to raise your hand and stop me, obviously, because I can't see you. So just follow along. You can be able to go back and listen to this different ways. We'll see how this works. We may do the next one where I'm just talking over the PowerPoint. Instead of looking at me, you will be able to just listen. I gotta kind of stay here because obviously the projector's right here and I can't see anything. So let's just see how it goes, and let's just get rolling. I think this is a appropriate one right now for what we're looking at, because economic times we're dealing with. We're going to talk about businesses, and we're specifically going to start off talking about locally owned businesses. We talk about sole proprietors. A sole proprietor or a single-owned business. So, the definition of biggest organization is a company formed to carry out commercial enterprise. Commercial enterprise is just basically any kind of business. That's a fancy way of saying we're doing some sort of business commercially in the world. It could be Pollen's Promos, it could be a bakery shop, wherever the bakery is, the biscuit place, all the different places that you can think of would be an example of a sole proprietorship. Or any business organization. Business organization can be a corporation, it can be a Walmart, it can be a franchise in a Wendy's, it can be what we'll talk about later, a partnership, which is a law firm, many different things. So, a business organization can be anything, but we will specifically start off talking with a sole proprietorship. What is a sole proprietorship? What does it do? All that good stuff. Sole proprietorship, by definition, of business owned and managed by a single individual. What we will determine is that every single business, you will determine what type of business it is based on how many people own it. In a sole proprietorship, one person owns it. Sole, it's that simple. So a sole proprietorship is one that is going to be owned by one person. So when I ask you later, what is a partnership? How many people are going to own that? Hopefully you're going to be able to tell me 2 or more. Right now, sole, 1. Partnership, 2 or more. We get to a corporation, we'll talk about who owns them. We get to a franchise, we'll talk about who owns them. So if you want to find out what kind of business it is, you want to look at who is the owner of that business and how many people own it. Again, we'll talk more and more about that as we go, but you'll understand as we keep talking. So sole proprietorship, single-owned business, singly owned person owns that. 4 facts about the sole proprietorship that are going to be important as you start to compare them along the way. It's the least form of ownership to establish. If I was to ask you right now, what would it take to start up a business? You would basically say, I need a place to work, and I need something to sell. And the cool thing about a sole proprietorship is you think about some of these businesses that have started in your homes. People who started making furniture in their backyard, people who started making furniture in their garage, and then eventually they got to the point where they were selling them at a bigger level. Maybe eventually become a Rick's Furniture or something like that. So the reason it's the least expensive form of business to start up is because you can work out of your home. There are going to be rules and regulations on that. We'll talk about that later. But you don't have to have a place to work. If you have a place to work, you will be more accessible because obviously somebody who cuts hair in Sturgis is not going to be out of their home in Sturgis is not going to be as successful as they are in Starkville here in a shop. If you cut hair at home here in Starkville, there may be some zoning laws or stuff like that will keep you from doing that. So we'll have to talk about that more and more as we go. But you can start it up very cheap as you do it out of your home, and there's going to be fewer regulations because there's only one owner, and most of the time that one owner, there's only going to be one person who is going to be working there. Most of the time it's going to be you. We'll talk about that more later in a little bit as well. Person earns all the profits and is responsible for all the debts. Cool thing about a sole proprietorship is you make all the money. If you have a partner, you have to split it with them. If you have workers that work for you because you're a corporation, you have to give them money and stuff like that off your sales. When you are the sole proprietor and you own your own business, all the money that you make gets to go into your pocket. The only thing you have to pay for is things like your light bill, your electricity bill, your heating bill, any kind of improvements you make on the building. You have to pay for that of your profits. But that is all part of operating a business. And if you're starting to expand your business, obviously, it's because your business is doing well. So if you're adding on or trying to fix your place up. So that's one of the things is that it's a perk is that you get all the money and you have to share it with another owner. Responsible for all the debt. If you get all the profits, you're also responsible for the debt. So if you open up a business and you take out a loan to start that business, you are the only person who is responsible for that debt. One of the cool things about having a partner is you can just split those debts. So if you go into a partnership with somebody, you split those debts, and you're able to split the money, split the expenses, split the startup cost, but at the same time get split profit. So it's kind of like a marriage when you get to a partnership. We'll talk about that when we get to partnership. But as a sole proprietorship, you get to keep all the money, but you're also responsible for all the debt. 75% of all U.S. businesses are sole proprietorships. That means that 75% of all the businesses in America are owned by one person. That means that almost 75% of all the businesses are locally owned businesses. That's why we've been talking about locally owned businesses right now in Starkville, especially, but in the world as a whole, because there are so many of those businesses. They do a small portion of the business in the grand scheme of things, but they are 75% of all the businesses. And as fast as one is opening right now, you're having another one close. So the cool thing about that is there's a lot of different ones out there. There's a lot of people who are making money at that, but there's also a lot of them who are going to fail. We'll talk about that. I believe we'll mention that later. I'm not really sure if that's in the notes or not. But we do talk about in conversation how so many of them fail. But the 75% of all businesses, you think about Starkville, and you start rolling off how many of those are locally owned businesses, sole proprietorships. That's going to be a large bulk of what goes on here in Starkville. Even though 75% of those businesses exist, they only generate 6% of all sales. Why? Because when you go to a Bell Building Supply here in town, they have X amount of stuff for construction, X amount of stuff for home improvement, do-it-yourself projects, DIY projects. But Lowe's, however, is a massive store. And so you can compare those two things. When people buy at Lowe's, they buy more stuff, they buy in bulk because it's going to be cheaper. That's the thing about selling on National. It's going to be cheaper than it is going to be locally owned, because they have more options, they have more advertisements, they have more people coming in strictly by their names, where you don't have as many people going to Bell's. The people who go to Bell's are the people who live here in town who want to support their local business. And so it's going to be more expensive. We talk about that. You've seen that. You know, going to a locally owned business is going to be more expensive because they are bringing all the profits, but they are only a few people and they're only bringing X amount, and that is their lifestyle. That is what they're trying to do. They're trying to put their kids through school, trying to put their kids through college, trying to raise a family, have a life. Where a person at Lowe's goes to work, and if the business at Lowe's fails, they go on about their life and they get another job. But not when you're the sole owner of a business, and when it fails, your whole entire life is going to be upset. Your entire lifestyle is going to be upset, and so you want to make sure that every sale you make, you're making the most money you possibly can, and you're going to be limited to what you can sell, which of course is going to drive the price up as well. So as you look at it, of course, those are just 4 facts. These are important because we'll talk about those later in comparison to other ones. You'll see those along the way and how much they're out there. So 75% of all businesses in the United States are sole proprietorships, and 6% of the sales generated are by them. Your basic examples of sole proprietorships are anything you can think of, but bakeries, barbershops, hair salon repair shops, corner stores. The list goes on and on and on and on, and it could be literally anything. But these are your common ones that you see a lot of times, especially haircut places, especially mechanics, bakeries, any kind of restaurants. A lot of times those are going to be your sole proprietorships, but could be anything. Could be a gym for all we know. Coach Berkery has a gym right now. I don't exactly know how his ownership's set up, but I think he's the sole owner of that, and so he could be a sole proprietorship. It could be anything. You have a tanning bed out of your home, and that makes you a sole proprietor. The advantages of being a sole proprietor, very simple. Easy to start up, there's few regulations, you're the sole receiver of profit, full control, and easy to discontinue. I'll go through this real quick, be the last slide that we do on this set of the video. Make sure I'm going to try to go about 15 minutes and make sure it works. So it's easy to start up. How? I want to be a sole proprietor. I want to make furniture in my backyard, and I want to sell it. Boom, I have a business. That's a sole proprietorship. If I happen to get a building, then like I said, I may have to go through some government codes, some zoning stuff to make sure that building works. Or can I make furniture out of my home? Why? Because I have to use stain, I have to use lacquer, and those are some forms of aerosols or some sort of chemicals. I may have to have some sort of permit for that, and they won't let me do that in my home. It just depends on what your specific job that you're trying to do is. But it's easy to start up because I can do it out of my home. It's very, very cheap. And basically, I say I want to make a job. So once I start my job, how big I get this thing, how professional I want to be this thing, is what kind of building I have. But I can sell furniture out of my house, out of my backyard, and make money and be a sole proprietor. Has few regulations. What does that mean? Well, because I can do it out of my home, as long as it's legal to do business out of my home, I will be able to do that. And I don't have to have government regulations because this is my house, this is my building. I don't have to have a permit to work out of my home, as long as the zoning laws line up. When you think about Green Oaks, where I live, my home right now